Hello, everybody. Welcome to the daily social distancing nugget for Prisma Cloud. I'm Solal, and I'm a customer success engineer for the EMEA region based out of Amsterdam, at least on non-corona times. I want to talk to you today about serverless security. So we have several layers or ways to protect our serverless functions. We start with vulnerability scanning and compliance management by defining Prisma Cloud Compute to scan our functions. We have compliance checks as well. We also have our Cloud Native Application Firewall, or CNAF, to protect our HTTP workloads of relevant functions. The last layer is runtime protection, or alert and protect our functions against any deviation from good behavior in our function wherever they execute. I'll now specifically cover our new feature that I like calling Autobots to the rescue, or rather auto protection for AWS Lambda functions. So looking at the serverless Veda view that we have now, I can see that the three functions that I have in my environment, called just Solal Autobots 1, F1, 2, and 3, alongside with the lock icon next to them. So if you can zoom in, we can see either an open lock or a closed lock. These now tell me if a function is protected in runtime or not. You'll see that I have one function that I protect manually by deploying a defender on it in the old way that still exists. And I have two others that are not protected. So clicking one of the non-protected ones, I see a banner telling me this function has no runtime protection. So you'll also see that the function that I protected manually, it will be with the green lock and have a protected mode. We now have an easy flow for serverless auto protection directly from console or the API. You can navigate to either Radar or the Defender deployment UI to identify individual functions or functions from a specific region to protect. Prisma Cloud will automatically deploy the appropriate Lambda layer to protect that function at runtime. So this is important since protecting AWS Lambda functions at runtime is a core security requirement. However, relying on post-development procedures to embed a security control can be a challenge. So now let's look at how you can actually achieve this. Let's first look at a Lambda page as well. Here I want to focus on my three Autobot functions, which are just the Python runtime functions. If you remember, one of them was already protected. That's the Autobot F3 function. I just did it in the old-fashioned way of deploying a layer to protect it with our Defender. Going back to the functions list and back to the Veda view, again, you can see that it's protected by the lock icon. And if I take any other function, I can click the Protect Now button, which will jump me back to the Defender deployment page with all of the names, the name of the function that I clicked, and pre-populated for me. I can always go back to Manage, Defenders, Deploy, and go to the serverless auto protect setting to do it from scratch. So once I'm here now, let's add a new rule and add all of the relevant settings. So let's call it Autobots rule. And it's for AWS Lambda, the supported version for now. The region for me is currently in North Virginia. And the name of the console publicly available is the console master. Currently, I have these credentials for that account. And I can either define all functions there, or I can just do a subset of functions. For example, I can either have it chosen one by one, or I can choose it with a star. But in this case, F3 is already backed up, so I'll just choose the names that I need to specifically. And any runtime that I have, but in this case, we protect Node.js and Python automatically. Once I add those, and now it's configured, I need to apply. Once I click apply, we'll need to go back to the Lambda page, and what we'll see if we refresh back in Lambda, you'll see that those two functions were updated literally a few seconds ago. If I'll open one of them, we'll see that they now also have a layer with a generic name that makes sense for us to parse later for upgrades that shows it's a Defender connected to a console with a 2004 new version we have. If we go down a little bit in the function itself, we'll see the function contents and that the handler is now different. And we'll see that we have a new environment variable, so it knows based on base64 hash what function name needs to connect to the console. Now that we applied it, we need to let the radar know that it's protected right now. So we saw it in Lambda already. Those two functions are also now protected, but the console needs to be aware about it. So it's in real life now in runtime protection, any deviations from good behavior would now be protected, but we need to fire off a scan. So console knows about it. If we don't do that, it will just run in the next schedule. So I'll do that now. That can be a lengthy process. So I'll pause the video in a second and come back when it's finished scanning. And we are now back. The scan is just finished and it's telling me that we can now refresh the page to continue loading the data. So refreshing the serverless radar page, we'll now see that all three functions are now protected. So we can also go back to the Defenders deployment page, look at my rule, and we see that we have 2 out of my 2 configured functions protected successfully as well. If we have any errors, they would appear here if something was failed protecting. And basically from now on, any new function that matches my auto protect rule I've created will be immediately deployed and protect the function for runtime. That was it for the new feature, the Autobots to the rescue. I hope you enjoyed it and see you next time.